Hi folks, Jose Andrade here, and I am pleased to announce the release of our new Figma plugin, InFlo-UX. And essentially it takes a content index document and converts it into a Figma prototype in less than a second. Let's show you how that works. One of the first stages in any digital project is to organize the stuff that's going to be in it, the content. And there's a thing called information hierarchy, which shows how those things kind of tree down from a top level or high level or primary section, page, or function. So for example, let's use a website. So what a lot of these users, whether they're agencies or admins or account folks or UX folks, will often use a standard page application like Microsoft Word because of their inherent function of numbered lists. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose that one. So in the way of a website, it could be home, about us, contact, services, jobs. And then I could also add secondary content such as AI services, and even tertiary content such as generative AI. For example, let's do one more about us. Let's make that team. And now I'm going to go ahead and save that. And what I've essentially created is a very cursory content index for a website. And this makes it really fast and easy for whomever is generating this content index to have a dialogue with their shareholders or a client or perhaps a digital team, so they can talk about this very early piece of information architecture. And the other thing that's important to note too, more often than not, this content index in this page format often grows to be the entire content index for any of these digital projects, and can and will change. Now let's see how InFlo-UX works with this document. So here in Figma, if you're using UI3, you simply go to this little cluster here, which is the action button. You go to plugins, you search for InFlo-UX, then you click on it. And then the next thing you'll be presented with is this kind of mini dashboard. You go ahead and select the file, and there's my sample index in Word. And what you'll see in less than a second, I couldn't even count it, that it does several things. One, it pulls in all the content from that index inside of the dashboard. It keeps the order that came from that content index. It retains the numbers from that index and that order, as well as the name of the element. Now there's some editing you can do here, and there's some editing you can't. So for example, if I try to delete about us, it says you can't. It's got a dependency to it. But if I, for example, I wanted to edit, let's say, jobs and call them careers, for example, then I hit save. The other thing that it does is it keeps it in the red, so you will know what you changed from the content index. And this way, it makes it easy to have a quick bird's eye view of what you've changed and what you haven't. Now I can go ahead and choose my devices here. Later on, we're going to do multi-device choices. But for now, let's pick the 16 Pro. And when I hit submit, also in less than a second, you now have frames from that content index. Let's make the background a little lighter so we can see what other fun stuff it did. And that other fun stuff is, as you notice here, that it also carried the name of each of those sections from the content index over to their respective frame, kept the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as well as created a visual hierarchy typical of a site map, where you can see 2.0 here and 2.1 is slightly indented. And then if you notice here where we did tertiary content, then 4.1 slightly indented, then 4.1.1 slightly indented. So that also becomes a visual way to look at this from an organizational standpoint, from a hierarchical standpoint, etc. And the other thing that it does is if you click on layers, you'll see that the layers are also in that kind of order. It retains the order across all of these elements. Now the real benefits here are it allows anyone who's creating content indexes within Word to create them. They don't have to learn anything. And if for whatever reason they have a Figma account, they can actually just very easily engage the plugin and spit these out. And that makes it easy for them to discuss and share earlier than having to wait to move it into development or UX design. But at the same time, the UX designer, even the development team, now you're starting to organize your content by a numerical value and a unique name. And that makes it a lot easier to identify these sections later on, because this is just a very basic Figma layout. They can get pretty complex. And this way it makes it easier for visually to very quickly identify where your section is, and if someone wants to make a change, let's say, and Figma has some phenomenal commentary and feedback, but what this also does is it allows someone to say, well, can you make a change on section 4.1.1? It's a lot easier for them to just identify it. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed as much as we do. And I'd love to hear feedback, or if you want any features that you may want to see sometime in the near future, we will provide a roadmap. And hopefully, even at this iteration, it helps you. It's free for now. We're going to be building features that are a lot more rich, even some AI stuff we'll talk about later. But feel free to email us with any feedback, content requests, and thank you so much for your time.